No. We got this. What do I say?
Welcome back to another.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Branching Out with F&M Bank. I'm your host, Mary Pavlovskaya, and today I'm joined by Sabrina Dorman-Andrew, the Executive Director of New Creation. Welcome, Sabrina.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting us come into your space, into your store. It's beautiful in here. Tell us a little bit about how this got started.
Yeah, so actually New Creation got started in my house. It was in my dining room, and it was a very simple, what can we do right where we are to help aid women that were coming out of human trafficking. So it started really small. We would invite women to our home and have conversations about really the items that the girls were making. And it was a way that we could really connect the issue, the global issue of human trafficking right here in our community with the idea of like shopping and doing good. And so this was it's almost been a decade we started in the anti-trafficking movement, and it was not an issue that people were necessarily discussing. It wasn't a hot topic. And so we really wanted to start talking about it locally, but also have this global approach of like, what can we do here? And so what started with one organization in one country in my dining room turned into this, and now we partner with over 60 different artisan groups, making sure that we can help create dignified work for women either coming out of human trafficking or that would be vulnerable to trafficking.
Wow, so everything in the store is created by some sort of artisan who will then turn around and donate the funds, or how does that work?
So actually all of our artisans are either survivors, so it's either survivor made, so women and men that are coming out of human trafficking or some sort of trafficking, or artisans that would be very vulnerable. And so a lot of the artisans that we work with are marginalized people groups, whether it's refugees that are here in the US or single moms, or a list of different things. And so really our the jobs that we're helping to create are breaking the cycle of exploitation and poverty by providing dignified work.
Now, I remember talking to you at one point and you telling me that there's countries in Eastern Europe. I remember Moldova was one of them. Is that something that's still prevalent? Do you guys still travel over there? Do you still have women working and providing some of the goods here?
Yeah, so Moldova is probably our closest partnership because I fly and I'm on the ground. I work with the artisans. I design the line with them. And so that's still very much going. One of the things that was very exciting this year in 2021 was we actually started wholesaling for them, meaning we're not just carrying them here, but we're really trying to connect them to other small boutiques and fair trade markets. We noticed that to make sure the women were sustained, we needed to create more work. And so the best way for New Creation to do that was to create a wholesale line. So that's been terrifying and exciting. And it's been really cool to see, now what we do in Moldova. So most people don't even know where Moldova is. It's landlocked between Romania and Ukraine. So a lot of people know those countries, but Moldova is really small. It's very underserved. And with trafficking, I learned years ago, the biggest exports out of that country was girls. Trafficking was so prevalent and so many women were vulnerable. And so that's why we really honed in on that country, because people weren't working there. But what is so amazing and beautiful is now what New Creation's doing in Harrisonburg, we're connecting them to our customers. But now, so far, just this year, we have them in a shop in Indiana, they're in Texas, they're in Ohio. And so it's been really cool to realize, the stuff that we're doing here in Harrisonburg is also opening up a market for the women that we partner with in Moldova.
Wow, and how empowering to hear you talk about how much work you've done, not only in the US, but going outside our borders and bringing that together. Because you're right, human trafficking is not something people talk about, but it's very prevalent in our small community. So I'm glad that you were able to tie the two, because it sounds like they're very interconnected.
Yeah, and I think the shop allows people to connect with the issue of trafficking in a non-threatening, non-scary way. When we started doing anti-trafficking work, I say all the time, I will ruin a dinner party because people are like, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, actually, I run an anti-trafficking movement. And it kind of goes downhill from there. And I noticed people would pull back, when we talk about the issue of millions of people, and trafficking, creates billions of dollars. And especially here in the US, 12 years old is the average age of of a sex trafficking victim in our country. Those things make people uncomfortable, right? As they should, and people want to pull back away from the issue, and traffickers are banking on everyday people doing nothing. And so we really thought, how do we create something that will get people to engage with a scary, tough issue? And it's beautiful things. It's a shop that you can come and you can feel good about purchasing a candle or a purse or jewelry, knowing that it's making a global impact. And I think it is different than a lot of anti-trafficking organizations because it's something inviting and beautiful that we're like, no, it's okay, we can all engage with this issue. And it is scary, but when we can point our dollars to good, it is so powerful. And so we talk a lot about like, how do we use consumerism in a way that's beautiful and empowering and ending trafficking. And so obviously I love to do it.
Well, it brings a new meaning to shop local.
Yeah.
Because when you shop local here, it's not just the small impact you're having a global scale impact. And that's kind of one of my questions is, I'm sure that finding your voice within the midst of all the, as you pointed, scary talking about human trafficking, finding that voice, what do you think is the biggest success that you've seen in the last couple of years that's really helped grow who you are, grow New Creation, tell your story? What would you attribute it to if you could?
Honestly, I would say community support. You know, we say it all the time here. I would not have a job if people weren't donating. I would not have a job if people weren't shopping. We wouldn't be able to provide dignified work. The community awareness that we bring to our schools wouldn't happen. And so I think it's really beautiful for me to see, you know, what's happening here in Harrisonburg is literally creating this wave of good throughout the world. And it happens because everybody does a little bit of something. And so I think community support is huge. So the building that we're sitting in was we'll call it a former adult store. It was selling and fueling really human trafficking. And so when we took the store over and we started saying, we believe that something that was meant for harm, we can flip around and use for good. And we talked a lot in the community, like, how can we use this building that people like told their kids to look away from, and we didn't want to, I mean, it was an eyesore on every single level. And I think that really kicked off the community support of New Creation. When we started that project, we invited small groups and we had youth camps, and we had so many people come and be a part of the like literal transformation here. And I think that created a lot of community buy-in, right? Like, I think that made people feel, and I want people to feel like this is our community. This isn't mine. This isn't our team's. This is the community's collective effort to end trafficking. And so it's been really beautiful. And we still to this day, you know, we took the building over, gosh, I always lose count. I think it was 6 years ago. And we still have people that come in and say, oh, when I was in middle school, I came and helped pull up carpet, or when I was in college, I, you know, helped paint. And so it literally has made people feel like this is theirs and they're a part of it. And that has continued years since we took over the building.
No, it was great to see it. I grew up in this community and I remember it from where it used to be and where it is now. And I really want to touch on a lot of the community aspect in our next video. But I wanted to thank you for letting us come in and sharing your story of how New Creations got started, what an impact you're having on the world. I just really appreciate everything that you do, Sabrina.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks for highlighting us, and we really appreciate F&M and the way that they've supported our efforts for years.
Thanks for joining us for another video of Branching Out with F&M.